Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stride's National Teacher Open House. We are so excited for you guys to join all of us. We're going to wait probably until I'm on the East Coast time, so 3:02, 3:03 to really get the ball started. But what I would love to do while we're waiting for all our folks to join, it looks like we have about 400 plus that are interested in us, is go ahead and go in the chat and give us your name and where you reside. I think that's probably the coolest thing about our company is we are nationally across, so we all reside a little bit everywhere in the US. So I love seeing where you guys are coming from. Hawaii, Alaska, Texas, Florida. So go ahead and drop that in. I already saw someone in Tampa, Florida, which is hello neighbor. I'm also from Tampa, Florida, or reside in Tampa, Florida at the meantime. We have some Texas folks, Tennessee. Texas is always pretty strong on these calls, I feel like. It's a big state. Some more Florida, Pennsylvania. I used to live in Harrisburg. Get all that. It's so exciting. Goodness. Jessica, you're just representing the Texas folks over there. They're all coming in. So I probably could guess Jessica is in Texas as well. Got South Carolina. Welcome all. We're so excited for you guys to join and learn a little bit about Stride, who we are, what makes us so incredibly different from a brick and mortar about being on the virtual platform. So feel free to put your name, where you reside. We love seeing where all the folks are coming in from. Got Washington, Georgia, Michigan, lots of openings in Michigan right now. So love seeing that. Welcome, everyone. What else do we got? Some more Florida. We got lots of Florida openings as well, so it's great. Illinois. Ohio. Well, our Ohio school is blooming right now, so that's great. Love seeing the Ohio people. Roll Tide, Alabama, love it. Got 2 schools in Alabama. Yes, welcome all. Go ahead, we're gonna give it a couple more moments. Like I said, we got about 400 plus folks that registered with us. I wanna give enough time for everyone to join in. Great news though, this will also be recorded and sent out later. So if you do miss any part of it, you can always go back and see the recording at any moment. So please feel free to jump in the chat, your name, where you're from. We love to see it. Lots of Roll Tides. There you go. Love it. I'm ready for football season. I don't know about you guys. My Sundays are just not the same. But I know Roll Tide is Saturdays for you guys. My husband likes the Saturdays. Arkansas. What else do we got going on in here? Questions, if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. We got Colleen and Drea and Courtney who will be answering those. Again, we will go all over this once we start our official kickoff here. We'll probably start around 3:01, 3:02 East Coast time. We also got more Pennsylvania, Louisiana. We got schools in Louisiana. We do have schools in Pennsylvania, ISPA. More Florida. Utah, we just opened a school in Utah last year, I believe. Michigan, like more Michigan, love it. Michigan's kicking off right now here at Stride. I got lots of Floridas and Texas. I like it. It's like they know where we're all sitting at right now, team. All right, we'll get it 1 more minute. Thank you all. Like I said, this will be recorded. We will send it out later. So at any point, if something comes awry and you need to go, we will send it to you afterwards. Or if you miss the front part of it, you'll be able to see the full recording after it. Texas, West Virginia. We got schools in West Virginia. Hello all. Alrighty, I am going to go ahead and kick this off. So welcome, we are Stride. Oh, we're a very small group of Stride at least. This is our National Teacher Open House. It's a great platform for you guys to learn a little bit about us, who we are, what makes us different on a virtual platform, any questions that you may have. So I just want to go over some housekeeping items before we really get this kicked off. I know there's a lot of you guys, there's 400 plus folks that have joined our webinar, and I know some of you may have already applied with some of our amazing opportunities that we have available. So we're already early hiring for school year 23-24. So if you have questions about your personal applications, if you need updates or specific questions on where you should apply or certificates, whatever that may be, we ask you not to do that in this platform. There's a lot of you guys, there's only a handful of us. So please feel free to email the recruiting team at stridecareers@k12.com. Colleen, who is our lead recruiter on this, she manages that inbox and sends it out to the recruiting team for who is in charge of that school or representing that school, so we can answer your questions. So again, if you have questions about your own personal application, please feel free to email us at stridecareers@k12.com. The Q&A box is designed for if you have a broad question, if you have questions on how to apply, what does it look like as a daily teacher, what does the student-to-teacher ratio look like, please feel free to drop them in there. At the end of this, we will have a Q&A session about 10 to 15 minutes, so a good chunk of this hour, to ask those questions. And those that kind of arise more, Colleen's going to keep to the side so we can answer them in person live. And then those that maybe be a little bit more specific, not towards your application, but just in a general basis, she'll make sure to answer those along with Drea and Courtney. Please feel free to continue to use those chat box. Again, we love seeing where you guys are residing, your name, a little bit about you. And then, like I said, this will be recorded, so we will send it out at a later time. So at any point you feel like you need a drop or you missed the beginning half of it, no worries, we will send that out to you. Drea, if you can do the next slide, please. Well, as you can see, I'm not the only person here. As much as I do love the sound of my own voice, I do have some fabulous guest speakers with us today. So I want to go ahead and do a quick introduction, or have them introduce themselves with their name, who they are, what their title is, how long they've been with Stride. The longevity at this company is fantastic. So my name is Erica. I'm an academic recruiter here over at Stride. I specifically help our Texas schools, and our Texas schools are the biggest within the company. I've been with the company for a little over 2.5 years, and I absolutely love it. So we are excited for you guys to join and learn a little bit about us. Jessica, you want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I am Jessica Higgins, and I am an 8th grade math teacher at Texas Online Preparatory School. So yay, Texas. I love seeing all the Texas people here. I have been with Stride. I believe I just finished my 8th year with a K-12 school. I was at another school and then moved over to TOPS a couple years in. So, and I've loved every year.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. Chad, go ahead and kick it off on who you are.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Chad Kimmel. I'm in one of our Florida schools at Digital Academy of Florida. I am an assistant principal over our career readiness program. I started at Stride about 5 years ago as a teacher, and I've held several positions since then until now, getting to run a CRE program, which is very exciting as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. And Colleen, go ahead and do a quick introduction on who you are.
Hi, everybody. I am a lead academic recruiter here on the recruiting team with Stride. I've been with the company for going on 9 years now. I cover most of our schools in the southern region, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama. I think that's it. Yeah.
Awesome. I think it's fantastic just to see at the beginning part of this how I've been here the least, and it's been 2 years. So to really show the longevity within Stride is pretty awesome with the representation of our guest speakers. Perfect. Thank you, Drea. If we can go to the next slide. All right. So you're probably wondering, who's Stride? So we've been around for over 20 years. We are a virtual platform, and kind of what our bread and butter really is our MPS schools, so our managed public schools. We actually have 68 managed public schools all throughout the US. So kind of how it works is we partner with different districts throughout the US, and support them in a virtual platform. So that means not only are we virtual, so are our students. And they can be anywhere from Washington to Texas to Florida to West Virginia, Virginia. We're kind of all across the board, which is pretty awesome. And it shows, we've been around before the global pandemic, where I think everyone got a slight taste of what it was like to be a virtual teacher. We've been doing this for 20 years. So when that did hit, it was quote unquote nothing new to us. It was business as usual. And I think business has really kicked off since then, because everyone, like I said, got a taste of the virtual platform, of what it was like. And a lot of students really strived in it. A lot of teachers really loved it. So we did see a huge kind of uptick during that time. Perfect, Rhea. If you can go ahead and go to the next one. So a big reason, or a lot of questions that we see, is what makes us so different in a virtual platform from a brick and mortar. So we have about 5 key points that we get a lot of questions about when people are considering joining our company, of what it looks like to be a virtual teacher or a virtual admin or a virtual register, or whatever that may be. So what we want to do is kind of go over these key points with you. And Jessica, can you tell us a little bit what it looks like to be a virtual teacher as far as your daily schedule?
Sure, absolutely. As I said, this is my 8th year, and I will say, disclaimer, that every single year has been a little bit different. Every year they sort of adjust our teaching schedule based on the needs of the campus. So this year I taught 2 classes in the mornings, and they were 30-minute classes each. And so they were from 9 until 10:15. So I logged in at about 8, got my lessons prepared or finalized them, and made sure everything was all set up my Neuro classroom, which is the live platform that we teach in, and then answered any emails that may have come in overnight. And then I taught my classes live, which is my favorite part of the day, because I get to actually kind of see my kids and interact with them. And we have a lot of fun with math. And then the rest of the day, I usually have a tutorial hour. I might meet one-on-one with a student that's really struggling and needs that extra support. We have ARD meetings and 504 meetings, or in Texas, they are ARD meetings, but you might know them as IEP, special ed meetings. We have staff meeting once a week. And then of course we meet with our PLC, our group that we plan together, because we're a real team-oriented school. And so I meet with my team and we plan and talk about what we're doing. And then a lot of emailing, a lot of texting, a lot of communicating with my students directly, which is great, going in and monitoring their assignments and things like that. But there is some flexibility throughout the day to do what I need to do when I'm able to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. And then as far as the student to parent engagement, I know you kind of tapped into that a little bit, of the communication style and what that kind of looks like. So obviously you're not physically in front of them, but you're still building that relationship of what that looks like for them to be engaged. So can you express or go into a little bit more detail on what that kind of looks like?
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, we do a ton of emailing and a lot of texting. We have a separate phone system that's through my cell phone and through the computer that we can use for texting and calling parents. So they don't really have my personal cell phone number, but we communicate openly all day. We do have a set, we are available from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So anything, that comes in after 5 or before 8, parents and families know we're going to answer that during the school hours. But we have a Learning Coach Academy for new learning coaches that are coming in, that are, the learning coaches are like the parent or the, whoever is in charge of the student at home. And so we really support our learning coaches and get them involved. We do every now and then have in-person outings, in Texas at least. And so we get to kind of get together with whoever's local to us, even though there's outings all over the state. So we try to get people involved there and get a lot of socialization and things that way. And we also at my school have something called Genius Hour. So we try to do clubs. I know there's esports and things like that the students really get into at the higher grades, especially. So yeah, we're just in constant communication. The parents actually have access to their learning coach account and their student account, to their grade books at all times, to the lessons. And so they can be as involved as they want to be with it, with their students' schooling.
Right. And I think at the middle school level, you're kind of the interaction between student and parent is probably equivalent to each other, where we see in the elementary level, it's going to be a little bit more hands-on with the parents just because they're at a younger age. And then with the high school level, we do see a little bit more geared towards the student just because of the grade bandwidth. So that engagement looks slightly different, I think, between the grade bands. But it's kind of the same concept across the board. And I know when I was personally joining the company, I was like, I'm going to be in an office by myself. Like, I need that personal interaction. And not once in my 2 years of being here did I feel like I was on an island by myself, because there is those tools, there are those communication styles, there's different platforms where you can build those relationships, not only with members within your team, but with different departments and whatever that may be. And I think that's where Stride really kicks it off, especially being a company for 20 years, is we understand we're, yes, physically in a room by ourselves, but we're not on an island by ourselves by any means. So thank you for that insight. I greatly appreciate it. Dre, if you can do the next one. Professional development. This was another big one for me to personally join the company, was our professional development, on how serious that we really kind of take it and what it looks like. So Jessica, as a teacher, what did that look like for you when talking to your admins and getting developed and being with the company for 8 years?
Well, as you said, professional development is a really strong part of being with Stride, because there's almost too much training. There's even a whole platform called K-12 training that you can go in and search and get as much professional development as you want. I know at the beginning of the year, we have a couple of weeks where we just do trainings together as a campus and with our teams, content specific, or just technology, if there's a new program that we're rolling out and things like that. My campus has been both of my campuses that I've worked with in Texas have been very supportive. If I found something that I thought was really going to be beneficial, I could bring it to them and they would approve it and even reimburse me to go. I've gone to Lead Forward, if you're in Texas, Lead Forward trainings and different things. So they're very, very encouraging of all the professional development, that if you can find it, they will support it.
Awesome, thank you. Now, Chad, from an admin standpoint, what does it look like for professional development when you're talking to your teachers and coaching and training and whatnot?
So like Jessica said, we have many different levels of professional development, which is nice because I've never had a teacher come up to recertification and not have enough professional development to recertify. So really, we have that K-12 training site, which is a good base, but then we get to develop what our students and what our teachers really need at the school level. So the professional development looks different every single year. And one of the nice things that I've really enjoyed with Stride is the amount of time given for that professional development before the school year starts. As a traditional brick and mortar teacher, you come in, it's so quick and fast paced to get everything ready for students. Whereas we have a little bit more time to really go over new content, new teaching strategies, show and highlight our current teachers and what they've been doing. So that way, one of our new teachers isn't going into a virtual classroom not knowing what that actually looks like. So it gives us a lot of opportunities to really go in more in depth into professional development than what I was typically used to at a brick and mortar.
Awesome. Well,
I'm
Go
so
ahead.
sorry to jump in. I forgot to mention that you reminded me, Chad, that we have instructional coaches. And so I know when I was first transitioning from brick and mortar to virtual, it's the same, but it's completely different. And so I had to figure out how to bring all my cool, fun lessons into the virtual environment. And so they set us up with instructional coaches. And I met with this coach, once a week, and he would watch my lessons. I had a male one year and a female another year, and they would watch my lessons, and we would get together, we would kind of dissect and say, where could we improve this? How could we make this more interactive? And now I feel like I have so many different cool ideas I never would have thought of on my own. So there's a real support there when you're transitioning as well.
Yeah, and I think this is all great insight that I'm not the only one that feels about professional development within the company. And when you have a company that's been around for so long and it's been expanding the way that it has, I think we're opening or plan on opening around 3 campuses this school year. New campuses on the 65, 68 we already have open, is that professional development doesn't have a ceiling. You can just break right through it because we're molding with the times, we're kind of changing with it, and we're very passionate all the way across about it. So thank you so much about that. Now, Chad, when we're looking at curriculum and lesson plans, what does that look like for a virtual teacher?
So Stride actually provides the curriculum for all of our courses, which is nice because you go in with a base already set up. And then I know Jessica mentioned PLCs. Our teachers work a lot with each other in those groups to really plan what those live lessons are going to look like, what kind of activities are going to be implemented in those live lessons, as well as if there are any gaps that need to be filled in to meet certain state standards. So our teachers really work a lot with that, but there's a pacing guide kind of set up with each of the courses. So it kind of gives you that outline of what the course is going to look like. And then you can then use your expertise as a teacher to bring other materials in for students to really grasp and utilize that content. As far as lesson planning, every school is a little bit different depending on what is required by that local agency. But I know in Florida, we do a lot more with the larger scope of things with a curriculum map, just making sure that we're hitting each individual standard. And the lesson plans are actually shared directly with our learning coaches and students weekly. So that way they see exactly what state standards they're covering, as well as what lessons in the curriculum actually match up to those state standards, as well as the assignments that would be submitted for the week.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight. Drea, if you want to do the next slide. CTE, I think it's really, I wish it was something that was around when I was in high school, the programs and the courses and what I recruit for. It was like applied engineering. Why couldn't I have taken that? So being the admin over there at CTE in Florida, what does your life look like? What does teaching and the programs and the interaction with students look like?
So this is actually one of the big differentiators that we have, is the fact that we're a virtual program, but we are very hands-on when it comes to career and technical education. You might see it as CRE as well, career readiness education here. But we are really preparing students to go either into an education, post-secondary education, employment, or enlistment right after high school. So they're doing things, or students are participating in project-based courses where they're actually, just like teachers work together here at Stride, our students are actually working together, and they'll create projects as groups, present competitions. We actually brought 6 different events to a national competition this year as well through Business Professionals of America. So they get all of those hands-on experiences to prepare them for life after high school. We have internships through Stride even, as well as other companies locally, so they get that work-based learning experience. Our students are taking industry certification exams that they're preparing for through the curriculum. And really, it's a nice, broad program to prepare them for any career. And so there's some on there, there's like manufacturing, some that I never even thought that we could do virtually, that has been such a success through that hands-on curriculum that Stride has developed.
Right. And I think it's really cool as an organization for kids to not be so single-minded that the end goal is always college. And with our CTE has recently, I feel like in the last years, or at least in Texas, almost tripled in size with the different courses that we offer and courses that we've never seen before, that we're like, all right, we got to get folks with a certification. What does that look like? And we have program coordinators. So that way we have teachers that are actually teaching it, but then we have coordinators that are helping the students with kind of the more outside stuff of the internships and going to different events and competing. I mean, we fly people out to go compete to different things. So it's such a cool part of our schools that have really come across the nation. And it really expanded in the last couple of years of different things that our kids can do after high school. So thank you so much for your insight about that. Out of curiosity, do you have like a favorite course that you guys offer in Florida that you're like, I would have never thought that's something? I know you mentioned manufacturing, but there's something that you're like.
I was a CTE teacher at heart. That's what I started as here at Stride as well, as programming. I got to say my favorite one is our game design courses. And that's just because when the students get into those courses, they sign up because they think they're going to play video games. That's really what it is. But once they get in, they learn so much. It's one of those pathways that they're going to learn about graphic design. They're going to learn computer programming. They're going to learn storytelling and really understanding their core courses as well, with the writing part of it and the mathematical concepts that go along with the programming. So it's just that pathway is just something that students really are passionate about, and don't realize they're learning so many other valuable skills at the same time.
Right. It's like they almost go in single-mindedness and they come out with this wide scope of, oh my gosh, there's so much more behind the scenes that I didn't even know I could do. So awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right, Drea, if you want to go to the next one. So benefits. I know this is a big one for a lot of folks. We get a lot of these questions when we are offering jobs over to teachers of what does it look like to join Stride and what benefits, what perks do I get to come to your company? So like a regular school, we do offer your basic medical, dental, and vision. Our medical insurance is actually quite fantastic. The employee pays quite a bit into it. We do offer matching 401k. We recently raised the percentage on that, which is great. PTO, we have tuition reimbursement. You can get a free master's with us. We partnered with SNHU. So lots of different perks of joining the company, with obviously your basic of like joining any company, but then these additional perks of these programs that we have of getting the master's, tuition reimbursement, FMLA, what that all looks like. So quick snippet, I'll let this slide stay on for a little bit so you guys can read through it of what we do offer to our employees, some perks of joining the company. Awesome. Oh, and we were rated top 100 of remote workers. Always forget about that one. Perfect, Rhea, if you can go ahead. The hiring process. So you guys are here. You want to learn about Stride. You heard from our fantastic guest speakers of what it's like to be a teacher, what professional development is, and how passionate we are. Colleen, being a lead recruiter, can you give us a little bit of an insight of what that hiring process looks like?
Yeah, thanks, Erica. So the biggest thing, all of our positions, you're going to be able to find them at www.stridelearning.com/careers. At that point, if you're looking for our teaching job specifically, you're going to want to scroll down to the bottom and select that option. The general careers page is also our corporate positions will be posted there as well as some of our tech elevator and med certs positions. But if you're just specifically wanting to look at the teaching roles, you'll want to go to that section of the careers page. Once you've clicked on that, you're able to kind of play around with it a little bit. You can narrow the search by a specific state. You can type a keyword into the search bar. There's a lot of different options to kind of play around with it. Once you find a position you're interested for and qualified for, that's when you'll want to submit an application. Again, you'll want to submit separate applications for any position that you're interested in and qualified for. Just because you apply for one role doesn't mean that automatically applies you for multiple positions. So you would need to submit separate applications for that. At that point, a recruiter will review your application. If you do meet those qualifications, we will then ask you to submit just a quick digital interview through a platform that we use called HireVue. Once that digital interview has been completed, the hiring manager will then review that and contact you for any additional interviews if they see fit. And then from there, that would be the offer stage of the hiring process. I just want to touch on, we're getting a couple of questions since we're at the hiring process slide. I just want to touch on a couple pieces of information. A lot of people are asking in the chat box if you live in a state, if you can only teach in that state. Most of our schools do have a residency requirement, and that is because there is travel required through the year, as our hosts have discussed, you know, for professional development, state testing, things of that nature. When you are on our careers page, though, if you narrow your search to include positions with the location of virtual instead of a specific state, that will bring you up positions that typically do not have any residency requirements and would allow you to be certified and live in any state in the US. So just a little tip there.
Perfect. Thank you for bringing that up, Colleen.
Yes.
I know we talked a little bit about who we are as Stride, and we really, our bread and butter is MPS schools, but we do have other branches within the company like Learning Solution, Tutors, Steps, where there are our own companies that we have organized that usually do not have a residency requirement. So even though we have 68 managed public schools, we're not in every single state. So if you are in a state where we don't have an MPS school and we don't have openings at an MPS school with your specific certification, doing that Boolean search of virtual will probably open more doors on the Learning Solution, Tutors, or Step side. So thank you for bringing that up. You can go ahead and switch to the next one. Q&A. So you guys got to hear from us. We want to hear a little bit from you on what kind of questions you have. Again, if you have very specific questions about your application, please feel free to email us at stridescareers@k12.com. So that way we can talk to you specifically about your application. But Colleen, were there any questions that you got or repetitive questions that you got that we can answer with our guest speakers?
Yeah, one good question, especially since we just covered the hiring process, is asking about completing a fresh HireVue video. So we currently have a function set up in HireVue that it's a reusability function. So the system is automatically going to reuse your digital interview for 1 calendar year. Unfortunately, we don't really have a way to bypass that per se, but it will, if you keep applying to different positions, it will just keep reusing that video so that you don't have to complete a new one every time you apply to a separate position.
Now, I know I see a couple of questions in there about student to teacher ratio, which I'm surprised we totally forgot to bring up on our little snippet. So Jessica, what does your student to teacher ratio look like?
I was just thinking that. Oh, I forgot to talk about that. That's always a question we get. So it really depends on the subject that you teach and the school where you teach. I know elementary, I think, has a lot smaller student to teacher ratio. I personally teach an advanced math class, so mine's really small. I have about 80 students, but I know that the typical general teacher at my school has probably about 200 students, which sounds like a lot, but it's very, very manageable in our platform. A lot of it is computer graded or program graded within the course. And so the grading is a lot less than what you think it or what it would be in brick and mortar. And then I know that our electives teachers that teach, you know, Spanish, health, art, etc., they have a lot more than the content teachers. So a lot more. But again, it's very manageable because it's all within the platform and things like that. So it just really depends.
Awesome. Chad, do you have a little bit of insight of what your student to teacher ratio looks like for your teachers?
So ours is just like Jessica said, it really depends on the subject. If it's a tested subject or a project based course, it's going to have a little bit lower student to teacher ratio than something like an art elective. So typically ours run roughly in between 150 students per teacher up to about 200 is where we like to max it out on some of those core courses, whereas electives will definitely get a little higher. But like Jessica said, really, when I first got in here as a teacher and saw I was an elective teacher at the time and saw the number of students, it's eye-opening, but really the processes that are in place it really makes it easy to communicate with all the students and making sure that they receive the instructions that they individually need, where it's really not difficult with those systems in place.
Perfect. Thank you guys for that insight. I did see a couple of questions because I know we're really speaking upon middle school, high school, and CRE. If we have elementary campuses, absolutely. We are K through 12. So we do have elementary openings. We don't have as high of a need right now because, like I said, we've been early hiring for some time right now. We are still early hiring for 23-24. So when you go into our career site and doing your search, your Boolean search for openings that you are interested in, you can absolutely type in elementary and say you reside in Michigan, and you will see openings there. The career site, another thing is we update it live. So when the schools come back and they look at their enrollment numbers, or they're shifting things around and say, oh my gosh, I need X amount more teachers in this grade band, they will let recruiting know and we will open it. So if you look at our career site one day and don't see that specific opening that you're looking for, check a couple of days later, check a week later, keep kind of rotating it, because as those positions are coming available, as enrollment is still open, we're going to start seeing those positions come through, and we will put them out there as fast as we possibly can, because just as much as you guys want to work for us, we want you guys to work for us too. So another good tidbit on there. Colleen, are you seeing any other generic questions or recently asked questions that we can answer?
One question maybe, and my apologies if while I was multitasking, if we touched on this a lot earlier with Chad and Jessica, but just maybe a little bit around state testing and kind of what that looks like and what usually kind of like the travel requirements are around that. I know some schools try to align you with a geographical location close to your state. Just kind of maybe Chad or Jessica, what's your personal experience with that, and what does that kind of look like for you guys?
So in Florida, we just finished testing. So our teachers do cover test sites. So even though it's a virtual position, there are times in the year that they will go and travel to test our students in person. Now we had, I believe this year, it was 67 test sites throughout the state of Florida. So we make sure that it's somewhere local to our teachers and our students. We want to make it as convenient as possible to get our students in and get them to complete those live testing requirements for the state. On top of that, we do also, a lot of it in Florida is able to be done virtually as well. So in Florida, we actually have 3 rounds of state testing. We're lucky like that. So the first 2 rounds are done virtually, whereas the 3rd round, which is in the April-May time period, that is the in-person testing. And really the way, with all teachers kind of pitching in, it usually leads to about 2 days a week out of the home office during those high periods of testing. So we actually have teachers that do volunteer to run sites, and they get training on how to do that. But typically the schedule's made and says, okay, this day and that day, you're going to be testing live students. You travel, it's nice to get out of the house. You get to see the faces of students and really get to see them live, which is great. We have teachers sitting there taking pictures with students, just because the students are just as excited as we are to really see someone that they've been working with this whole time face to face.
I will say for state testing, I've been a site coordinator, which Chad mentioned. They train you and they let you know how to run everything. And it's kind of cool because you are literally the site coordinator for all of the testing. And something that is interesting that people don't understand a lot of the time is that we have students spread out all over the state. So at our test site, it's kids in Texas, we test grades 3 through 12. So even though I'm an 8th grade math teacher, I'm working on testing students in 3rd grade, taking the math test in 3rd grade, so it's all the students that are local, which is kind of fun. And then you get to see the teachers that are local. And anytime we drive to testing, I don't know if this is everywhere, but in Texas, they reimburse mileage for us to drive to our test site, which is nice. And then in Texas, it's a lot more weeks. We also have several rounds. So it's a week in December in person. It's a week or 2 in February, March. in person, and then it's 4 weeks, April, May in person, and then 1 week in June. But as Chad said, most of the time you're only scheduled to go in, 2 days, maybe 3 days, depending on where you live. Some of the smaller rural areas might have to go in more, but it's actually nice. I actually really love I love testing weeks.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I know we got a couple of questions on how we are as a company, if we are part of the public school company brand or districts, and what does like retirement look like. So that's where this kind of partnership comes into play, where we partner with different districts throughout the US. And due to that partnership, we are not part of the state schools. We are our own private company, or excuse me, publicly traded company. So therefore we offer a matching 401k. We do have a couple of board schools that are kind of the exception to the rule. But for our employees, our Stride employees, that's where we would be offering a matching 401k and not qualify for state specific retirement. So good question there. I did get another question about support staff. So yes, even though this webinar is geared towards teacher, of course, we have our own schools. We need support staff, we need counselors, we need admins, we need registers. So we do have a little bit of everything. What kind of we're looking for at this moment is in our teachers for our early hiring. As enrollment numbers come in, so probably July, August, September, you'll see more of your support staff openings come available. So again, keep checking that career site for positions that will come available live. We do the best that we can in the recruiting world of the school needs something, we're going to post it and start recruiting for it. So it is a live action update.
Just to build off that, Erica, real quick, which I failed to mention earlier during the hiring screen, there is an opportunity on the careers page that allows you to sign up for job alerts. So if you type in a search for a position, if you're looking for an elementary position in Georgia, let's say, and you want to be notified when a position is open, if you're on our careers page and that's your search that you currently have pulled up in the top right-hand corner, it says sign up for job alerts. You'll want to do that. So then the system will automatically notify you when a position is posted that you're interested in and qualified for.
Perfect. And to build on is while you guys registered for this, we do have, you guys all signed up for Beamery, which is part of our talent community. And what that does is it's our CRM program where we're able to do searches and send kind of updates as well of like, hey, we saw you reside in Texas and we have all these amazing openings now. So we do a good job about kind of pulling information, scrubbing information for our CRM program of what you're looking for, where do you reside, and then all of a sudden TOPS is blowing up, so we need to hire more over at TOPS. So we do keep updates, but it's going to be not a one-way street. It's going to require both of you guys to look, and then our job obviously to entice you to say, hey, we got these openings now. So thank you for that, Colleen. Any other burning questions that we're seeing a lot of?
One last burning question, and I mean, I know we can speak to this, but Chad, maybe will you just speak to the school calendar in Florida specifically for DOF and how it kind of is pretty similar to a brick and mortar, but maybe just a little bit different? What does that typical calendar year look like, if you will?
Yep. So I kind of spoke a little bit about how we come back a little early. So our teachers come back towards the middle to end of July. So they do get about 5 to 6 weeks on a summer, and then we start out the school year. Now, when we come back, it's kind of slow, and we kind of get into a lot of the PD and preparing our courses, stuff like that, because our students don't start until early August. So that does give us a lot of time to kind of prepare. As far as holidays, we do follow our partner districts calendar, and I know the other school in Florida does the same thing. So we're still off. For example, our school, we're off for the week of Thanksgiving. We have the 2-week winter break. We have spring break. So a lot of those holidays and time that you're used to, you still get. The difference here is that the summer is a little bit shorter, but really I feel that it made up for it I was already working anyway half the time. So coming in and being able to really set up the class and really go into a school year feeling 100% prepared with my classroom was always very nice.
Awesome. Thank you for that insight. I do see a couple of questions on what does it look like as far as like you virtually teaching? How many hours out of the day would you say that you're like quote unquote live teaching? So Jessica, do you have a little bit of insight in that?
Sure. Well, I think I mentioned earlier, it really changes year to year. So this particular year, I taught 2 30-minute classes in the morning. So live time was an hour as far as teaching directly, but then I had live tutoring time for about an hour or two, for 2 hours a week. But next year, our schedule is changing again, as it changes almost every semester. And we're actually going to have 3 45-minute classes in the morning for math, and then, ELA. So different subjects teach at different times of the day, and they might overlap a little bit. So it really can change. I have had where I've taught a couple of classes in the morning, like 2 classes in the morning, and then had a little bit of like a 2-hour break, and then a couple classes in the afternoon, or whole group in the morning, small group in the afternoon, or Tuesday, Thursday classes, and then Monday, Wednesday, small groups, or, so it really does sort of vary school to school and semester to semester.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I do see a couple of questions about if you reside outside of the US. So unfortunately, majority of our schools, I think it would probably be safe to say all of our schools, Colleen, correct me if I'm wrong, do require residency within the US. Majority of our schools, I do know this, do require residency within that state. Some will allow the surrounding states. Like I said, we have other branches such as Learning Solutions, STEPS, Tutors, that are a virtual platform that you can reside anywhere within the US, but we kind of do require the residency within the US. Perfect. All right.
One last thing I'll touch on is salary real quick. My apologies again if we kind of touched base on this, but I know there's always lots of questions around salary. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer any salary related questions today, simply because it is just dependent on so many factors. It's going to be dependent upon the state that you live in, the school that you teach in, the years of experience that you have, the position that we would be hiring you for. There's just a lot of factors that do go into salary. So we do provide everybody an opportunity during the application phase to kind of disclose your desired salary. That just gives us an opportunity to kind of make sure it does align with what we are able to offer for a position. Some of our positions will have salary bands posted in the job description, just dependent upon the state again, but most of them will not. So just again, unfortunately, there's just too many factors that kind of go into it for us to kind of be able to touch base on that today.
Perfect. All right. Well, some amazing questions from you guys. I think we've covered a little bit of everything, which is always fantastic about these webinars. I truly just want to say thank you for everyone that attended and got to learn a little bit about us. We learned a little bit about you. I want to say thank you to our guest speakers for taking an hour out of their day and joining us and talking to teachers that want to join us. So if you guys do have any questions, please feel free to email the recruiting team at stridecareers@k12.com. We would love to answer those questions for you. Colleen does a great job at putting your email in front of the recruiter that is in charge of those campuses. For those that want to apply, now that you've learned a little bit about us, please apply at stridelearning.com/careers. We would love for you guys to join our company and join our tenured staff. And we appreciate the time that you guys put in. So thank you for everything, guys. Bye.